this thing on? Because it's getting ready to be on.
Hello and welcome to Bell Ringer. My name is Greg. Your guest name today is Reid, the co-founder of 26 Shirts and originator of the hashtag Bills Mafia that has now come to represent the entire fandom. Throughout this episode, Del and I talk about his couple organizations, specifically 26 Shirts, the origin story of Bills Mafia, our new program, the Be in Buffalo Hometown Touchdown, and just broadly what it means to be a Buffalo Bills fan, both while you're here in Buffalo and if you've moved away. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to chat with you.
So I'm sure you've had to tell this story a couple thousand times, but I'm going to make you again for our audience. Walk us through, how Bills Mafia started, and I'll help set the scene. I know it was middle of the drought and it was an 0-8 season to start the year. So tell us, I think it started with a tweet. Tell us exactly how that started, and then we'll get into where it's gone from there.
Yeah, so I'll try to keep this story as informative yet abbreviated as possible because I could go on and on about it because there's so many little details. But yeah, so in 2010, the Bills started 0-8 under Chan Gailey. It was fans were so excited for Chan Gailey to have been hired only because he wasn't Dick Duran from the year prior. But they started out pretty rough that year, 0-8, and then suddenly something clicked with the roster, and they started to really gel together as a team. And they ended up finishing that season 4-4. So 4-12 season, not great, but the back half of the season, 4-4, can't really complain. So in that 4-4 stretch, there was a time when there was a game where the Bills took the perennial, playoff team Pittsburgh Steelers to overtime, and Ryan Fitzpatrick during overtime threw a bomb into the end zone. Stevie Johnson grabbed it, but not long enough for it to be a catch and fell right out of his hands, and the Steelers went on to win that game. It was a heartbreaking loss. So that night, Stevie Johnson goes on Twitter and kind of questions God, and that tweet just ended up making the rounds. After that, and then immediately following that, because Bills fans are they love the Bills players, and so fans were, very enthusiastic in their encouragement of Stevie, obviously myself included, like saying things like, keep your head up, bright future ahead of you. I mean, just the week prior, he had caught 3 touchdowns in a comeback win against the Cincinnati Bengals. So, this wasn't just some random bench receiver on the roster. It was an up-and-coming player in the league. And so after that tweet, everybody's encouraging him, and then it kind of dies down. And then the next day, Adam Schefter retweets it, which in Twitter time was like a year later, the way that things work. And so a few of us, myself, my quote unquote Bills Mafia co-founders, Bree and Leslie, and, several other people, we were kind of teasing Adam. And I was trying to guarantee that we weren't being nasty. There was no F-bombs. It wasn't quite like Twitter is now. It was much more Twitter on the whole 10, 12 years ago was a much more, welcoming place on the whole. But anyways, so, we're joshing around with Adam Schefter a little bit because of that, because the joke being that Adam Schefter is the information source in the NFL. Almost nothing hits your timeline in terms of NFL news without it first having run through Adam Schefter's Twitter account. And so it was kind of funny that he was sharing something that was, quote unquote old news at that point. So Adam I guess he didn't find the humor in it as much as we did, and he ended up blocking a bunch of us, and then which is the first time to my knowledge that I had been blocked on anybody by Twitter. So fast forward about 6 months, and on a Follow Friday leading up to the NFL draft, Follow Friday was a tradition on Twitter where you would suggest people that you follow to people that follow you. And so I suggested that, the group of us that gotten blocked and called us the Bills Mafia. And that seems like a good place to pause, at least a little bit, because it's a lot of words right there. But that's where the term came from.
Like, are you still blocked by Adam Schefter?
I am not. I am not. Several of my fellow fans over the years campaigned for him to unblock me. and so now I get to see all his informative tweets.
Yeah. I was going to say you've gotten obviously some notoriety since then, so he you might be a little bit better on his radar now.
Yeah, I actually did tweet at him a couple years ago. I said, "Dude, you're blocking me changed my life, like literally, because the whole Bills Mafia movement changed my life." Um, and he said something nice back, like that wasn't me, it was all you, like very complimentary or whatever. But so that's kind of cool. Have a little exchange with him.
So obviously there's that tweet exchange. Kind of like for those that don't know, we have a lot of people that listen to the podcast kind of across the country that are maybe interested in Buffalo, but either have never been here or, moved away. I mean, what has Bills Mafia turned into from a joke hashtag to, at least where you intercede with it? Where is it today?
Yeah, so that term took off fairly quickly. So within a couple of, for me, it was like a one-off tweet. I was making a joke, and that was going to be it. But it really started to like resonate among Bills fans. And then a few months later, the Bills players discovered it, and it started to really grow. And at that point, Bree, who I mentioned a few moments ago, was one of my quote co-founders. I remember he sent me a direct message on Twitter. It's like, should we do something about this? So I was like, yeah, sure. Let's, as you'll see, it becomes a theme in my life. Let's make a t-shirt. And so we took the Twitter bird and put a red slash on it. And it just kind of like grew from there. People were buying the shirts and wearing them and posting pictures of themselves on social media and everything. And it just grew and grew and even with the shirts, we didn't want to make didn't look at this as like a money making opportunity. It was just something where we could show pride as Bills fans. And that's kind of been the vibe ever since. Is that it's all about taking pride in your team and getting to know and lifting up other Bills fans. So I mean, it's Bills fandom is in its own right like a culture. The games are almost secondary for so much of so many of our fans. And I mean, it's nice when they win. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying the opposite, but it's just something that we can really lift each other up. So Bills Mafia became this movement, and all the proceeds from the shirts were going to Roswell Park, which is where I was working at the time. Not in the fundraising department. I was a computer programmer, but so we were supporting the pediatric cancer section of Roswell through our shirt sales. And then we started doing tailgate fundraisers. We called them tweet ups back then. And back then, Bills Mafia tailgate, something completely different than what it might mean to some people now. But the whole goal for this whole Bills Mafia thing has been to lift up the community and support the community through, because it all happened out of community, supporting Stevie Johnson and stuff like that. But just like using this platform that we have as fans to support each other and to support the community in general.
Yeah. So you mentioned obviously, pivot. What do we do with this? Make a t-shirt. I'm sure that rolls pretty nicely into 26 shirts. So tell us the origin story of that, and then we'll get to obviously where you are today and that as well.
Yeah. So fast forward a couple of years. At this point now, it's 2013, and we had done some tailgates and different product fundraisers. I think we did a cell phone case at one point for a local family who was in a tough situation, but nothing really organized. And in October of 2013, somebody reached out to me, asked if I would share an online raffle that he was conducting. He had won a signed Mario Williams jersey, which was a big deal at the time in 2013. And he had won that from Summer Sanders, who is a gold medal Olympic swimmer who's also a Bills fan. And even, as big a Bills fan as I am, I'm not really into the memorabilia end of things. Some people are, that's totally fine, but that's not really my thing. But I understood the significance of this, this item that he had. And so I asked him about it. I said, all right, so what's your story? He said he was from Olean. He's living in North Carolina now, but so what's the story here? Why are you looking to unload this? And he goes on to tell me about how he won this raffle for this jersey, and he was selling it as, he won this jersey. Now he was conducting this raffle to raise money for his daughter, who was 2 years old at the time and had a condition called retinoblastoma, which is basically eye cancer. She had already had one eye removed, and she was having chemotherapy applied directly to the other eye. So I'm reading this guy's story, and my heart's breaking. And I just thought, like, what can I do to help him? And I had the idea to sell some shirts because we had done something recently, like just a month prior. We did something with Kiko Alonso based on him, who was a flash in the pan, exciting player for the Bills back then. I think we did like the Legend of Kiko shirts, and it was just kind of fun to watch it happen. And we gave the money to a local charity and stuff. But it was just fun to watch that process happen, checking the sales every day and everything. And so I realized there's something there. And so I said, yeah, absolutely, dude. I will retweet your raffle. I'm happy to share it. And then next time we sell a special shirt, I'll give you a cut of the proceeds. I'll give you the proceeds.
I forget what the percentage is that goes towards the shirt, but I was on your website this morning. I think you're coming up on, from that point to today, 1.5 million donated to charities. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. So it's funny. So it's not even 26 shirts now. We do one every week. We launch a new 2-week campaign every week. And we do special editions and we bring back old designs. So it's like 104 shirts, and we do more than shirts. We do hats and everything. Yeah, it's crazy. And so it's for most campaigns that we do, it's $8 for every shirt that gets sold. There's some where we'll bring back an old design, or maybe it's a really niche special edition, or some of the other merchandise we have on the website, like our Mafia gear and our Charge brand, which is an 8% donation. But the majority of what we put out there every week is an $8 donation.
I mean, I've seen you like on other podcasts, not wanting to take too much credit, obviously, as like this lead figure in the Bills Mafia, because it is really all about the community. But, you as kind of like a representative of it. I mean, you had like that Fox Thursday Night Football feature. Like, what has it meant to you? Like, are there moments along this journey that feel like surreal or stand out to you as kind of, big moments, obviously personally for you, and then for your companies, your campaigns, all that?
Yeah, Greg, I would say the entire situation is surreal. Like, there's no surreal moments. Like, it's all surreal. I was a web developer at Roswell, and when I started this 26 shirts idea after speaking with Scott, that was the Amber's dad who I was talking about with retinoblastoma a moment ago, I did not have a plan to start a business. I didn't think this was going to be something that was long term. I called it 26 shirts because I was only going to do 26, and that was going to be the end of it. But it just took off so quickly, and it's been embraced by Western New York and all the Western New York expats, literally all over the world, that are connected through social media. It's just I think it's just it's just proof that the Buffalo as the city of good neighbors is not something that is just a funny or a cute little thing that they put on the signs around the city. It's really a true way of life in a lot of ways. And it's no surprise to me, I guess, in retrospect, that this idea took off like it did, because Buffalo has such a giving heart across the entire region. But it is very humbling. It is cool to play this role. I don't take it for granted. And in terms of surreal moments, if I can think of a couple, I mean, we done a few shirts over the years with Thurman Thomas. The first one we did like with him, we actually went out to his house to do a photo shoot, which was kind of weird. You're like on Thurman Thomas's back porch taking pictures. It's kind of, dude, that's crazy. We've had the opportunity to work with all kinds of, Bills legends like Jim Kelly and Andre Reid. And even now, we work with West Her. West Her is one of our major sponsors. And, one of the people they work with is Josh Allen. So literally just today, I'm walking out of my the front door of my house, walking up to my car to go to work, and a big West Her truck is going down my street for whatever reason. And right there is Josh Allen on the side of the truck, and he's wearing our shirt that we did with West Her. It has a 26 shirts logo like right on the chest. And that's crazy. I mean, this is the quarterback that Buffalo has been waiting for since the day Jim Kelly retired. And, the fact that he is there wearing our shirts and everything is absolutely insane.
So obviously, people outside of the region, I think, see whatever, like the table smash videos or anything like that goes viral on Twitter now, and like that's fine, it has its place. But and you alluded to it a bit, but to you, like as someone that's contributed to and benefited obviously so much from like Bills fandom, what does being a fan of the Bills mean to you?
Community, without a doubt. Family, love, community. The Bills are the extra family member in every Western New York household, and uh, at least that's how that's how it's been in my experience. And I'm sure that I know there's families in Western New York that don't give a rip about sports, and that's totally fine. But among Bills fandom, like it's something that is not just like, oh yeah, and we happen to cheer for this local team. No, it is something where it is a dyed in the wool kind of thing. I always make the joke that Catholic families will often have a framed photo of like the Pope on the wall in their home. And when I was growing up, we had a photo of OJ Simpson. I'm 46, so it's not like this is in the past few years. I mean, the photo came down in 1994, but but that was like that's just it's part of the Western New York culture. Like, and even as a family member, like during the drought and everything, you don't abandon your family. You don't turn your back on your family, and you have a family member that's going through hard times, and it seems like he or she can't get their act together, but you still love them and you're still there for them and you still spend time with them when they're around. And so that's, for me, that's the best definition of Bills fandom is family and community.
Yeah. So through our Be in Buffalo campaign, we're reaching out to these Bills fans across the country. We're excited to announce, actually, partially on this podcast, we're doing something called the Be in Buffalo Hometown Touchdown this year, where couple winners from across the country will get a trip back to Buffalo, go see a football game, airfare, hotel stay. We're marketing it in all the backers bars across the country. I know through 26 shirts you've sold, in so many countries and continents across the globe and obviously across the United States. We were talking a few weeks ago on a different call. You were telling me about a few events you've done in other cities and Bills backers bars. So specifically outside of Buffalo, because I think it's somewhat unique and really like anchors people to the city, still being a Bills fan elsewhere. What's your experience with Bills fans, Bills backers bars outside of Buffalo?
They all serve Labatt Blue. That's like the every time I've gone to a Bills backers bar, which isn't a ton, but a handful of times, they're always so proud to mention that they have Labatt Blue on tap. That's like the one,
as
thing.
They should be.
But I want to say in all seriousness, but that is serious. But just that love for the team just doesn't die, and for the Western New York community. And I think it's really cool that you guys are doing a contest where Buffalo is the destination, right? So often, like people you see, going to a tropical, watching Wheel of Fortune over, you're getting, all expenses paid trip to, Hawaii or whatever. And then this one's like, you're coming to Buffalo and you're going to watch a game and it's going to be amazing. So I think that's really cool. But there's so much pride. Like when people leave Western New York because it was a job offer or because their parents got a job offer, but sometimes before they were even born, there's so much pride for Western New York. And mentioned a moment ago, I'm in my 40s. When I was growing up, that was not the case. It's only been in the past, like, I'll say 15, maybe 20 years, probably not even that long, that this civic pride has really taken hold again since the Talking Proud days in the early 80s. It's really something that, people are proud to be from Buffalo, as they should be.
Yeah. And so I'll be going to DC in early October to have an event at a Bills backers bar. I should mention we're bringing some 26 shirts with us, so that'll be super exciting. So we can't have you on without talking at least a little bit about the Bills, maybe selfishly, because this is normally like a business leader podcast and we talk about economics and all that stuff. But how are you feeling? This is going to launch. We're going to push this out on September 7th. So the day before the opener. How do you feel about the team? Strengths, weaknesses, worries, any top level stuff?
This is the most stacked roster the Bills have had maybe ever. And that sounds like such a bold statement, but when you look at this defense, how they remade the defensive line this offseason, the offense, no question, like this is the one of the best, if not the best offense in the NFL. But this defense has been remade as well. There are very few weaknesses outside of cornerback. We'll see how they're able to deal with Trey White's absence until he returns. But they've got Dane Jackson, who served very well in his stead last year, along with a first round draft pick. So, who's looked great. I'm watching the preseason game the other night. Like, he looked great pass defense. So I don't know. I mean, it sounds super cocky, and you want to talk about surreal. This is the surreal part, is talking about the Bills being as good as they are and being the preseason pick by almost every pundit to win it all. I'm just so excited for this season, and barring any kind of injury or anything like that, I cannot see what gets in the way for this team.
Another just question of personal interest. Who's your favorite Buffalo Bills player from the drought years, the drought era?
Probably Fred Jackson. Ryan Fitzpatrick is definitely on the short list, but I think Fred Jackson is probably going to be my favorite guy. Like, that just came out like that, right? You asked me, and that was my knee-jerk reaction. So I guess that's the answer. Fred Jackson. He was just a great example of team leader, and I remember so many of us were heartbroken when he got cut in 2015.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much for all your time and everything you obviously do for Western New York. Before I let you go, we always end on a couple hard-hitting Blizzard round questions. So, first one, if you were a flavor of ice cream, what would you be?
Flavor of ice cream, what would I be? I guess I would probably be. I don't. That's a tough question. I guess Neapolitan, just because it's kind of all over the place. So,
okay, good choice. How about what's a book or TV show that you'd recommend?
Okay, so this is gonna sound super nerdy. Wuthering Heights is one of the best books I ever read in my life. I've read so many science fiction novels over the years that I'd often try to break it up with classics. And then when I read through Wuthering Heights 16, 17 years ago, I absolutely loved it. It was great. In terms of a TV show that I'd recommend, anything Marvel, Disney Plus. Huge superhero nerd. I love all of it.
Okay. Do you prefer a text or a phone call?
A text.
Okay. Hiking or skiing?
Hiking.
This one I think is going to be easy. Bills or Sabres?
It's Bills, but the Sabres are in the conversation. I do love the Sabres, but it's Bills.
Yeah. And then last question, most important, chicken wings. Do you prefer drumstick or flat?
Flat. That's probably the fastest response.
That came quick. Yeah.
Yeah. Flat. I mean, they're both good. They're both chicken, but like, flat is its own thing.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and obviously everything you do for the community.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. Go Bills.
Go Bills. Bellringer is a podcast by Invest Buffalo Niagara, the region's nonprofit, privately funded economic development organization, bringing new jobs for our neighbors and new investment for our neighborhoods. Come grow your business with us.